What about you, Violet?
Very excited for warmer weather and summertime and
Yeah.
then fall time where we get to meet all of you.
Yes. Okay, we're live on YouTube as well. If you want to double check for me.
Yep.
I think I see some new names today, so maybe we get to start off with introductions again, which I love. I'm going to open up the chat because it's a smaller group today. I'm going to open up the chat so you guys can chat with us in the chat box. But if you guys want to let us know where you're watching us from and what time it is for you, that'd be great. And while you guys are doing that, I can quickly start us off with introductions. My name is PJ Gurung. I'm the Assistant Director for Strategic Communications and Recruitment at the KIC. So a lot of what I do is on the ground recruitment, student communications, acceptance letters, um, website changes. I also manage a team of social students who work on our social media and graphics. And I also host a lot of these pre-arrival webinars with Violet. With that, Violet, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Violet Kind. I'm the International Enrollment Coordinator here at the Kearney International Center. I do a lot of prospective customer service, so maybe I've talked to you through email or on the phone before, but I help a lot of students through the process of getting their application submitted and then submitting their I-20 request and then coming over here for orientation. So, yeah, nice to meet you here. We've got someone from Ghana. Awesome. 3 p.m. Oh, you're muted, PJ.
That happens at least once. Well,
Right.
we caught you at a good time then. Today we're talking about tuition, understanding tuition and fees, what goes into it. We'll talk a little bit very briefly about housing, but as you guys know, if you've seen the calendar already, if you have, it means you've seen the calendar and you've registered for these. Um, we will be talking very briefly on housing, but we do have a very specific housing webinar that I highly encourage you to join if you're still really confused about what housing looks like in the US, because as a prior international student, I know how confusing it can be. So bring any questions you have. Christopher from Kenya, 6 p.m. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Christopher. But yeah, we'll just get right into it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the Q&A box or in the chat, either or, doesn't matter. Um, it's going to be a fairly quick session. We'll leave some time at the end for Q&As, or if it's relevant during the time that I'm speaking, I will. And Violet, if at any point you feel that I'm missing on any information, please do add. Okay. All right. Again, welcome. What you see in the picture now is our Centennial Student Union. This is where we have our office as well for the Kearney International Center, as well as a lot of other very important offices and departments. But this space primarily is used for students as like a student hub. So we have a lot of our food courts here, not the actual dining center, but other food courts here. A lot of students like to hang out here during lunch. You guys will get to see this, and a lot of times this is where students spend a lot of their time as well. But yeah, today we're going to talk about how to plan your budget, what you need to know about those budgets, what to account for, and you can talk to your family member or whoever's your sponsor and kind of let them know this is how it's going to be divvied up as well. So it's kind of good to start thinking about it. Because for a lot of you guys, this is going to be the first time, most likely, first time going anywhere by yourself, abroad even, and actually knowing how to pay your bills and when to pay your bills. So it's a big responsibility. But this is a good experience because it really teaches you how to be independent and how to fend for yourself in a space where everything is so new. So again, it's a lot. It can be very overwhelming, but if you feel those overwhelming feelings, just know that it's very normal and it's just part of the process. It's just part of the process. So how to make payments, what that looks like, health insurance, scholarships and assistantships. The assistantships is going to be primarily for our graduate students. If there are any graduate students watching, I'll quickly touch on it. Working on campus and employment, what that looks like as well. But again, these are going to be pretty condensed. So how to plan your budget. So obviously there's the university side of housing and cost of attendance, right? So that's looking at tuition and fees, your living expenses when you're in the United States, your health insurance, books and supplies, personal expenses. These are kind of condensed and provided to you in an estimated way on your I-20. So this is what you see on your I-20. However, things that are not included in the I-20 obviously are the other expenses that you guys are kind of working on right now, right? So that's the CVIS I-901 fee. If you've already paid for it, it's $350. Your visa fee, if you've already scheduled your visa, that's how much you have to pay. If you haven't yet, that's about how much it would cost you to schedule your visa appointment. Hopefully you guys get it the first try. If you don't, again, that's another $185 that you're paying for another visa appointment that you will likely have to schedule. So those are things that might not be some things that you're thinking about in the grand scheme of things, but again, just something to be aware of. Obviously, travel expenses, airfare. August is typically a time where a lot of students are traveling abroad for school, and that's also around the time when flights get a little expensive, so just be mindful of that. Shuttle. We put shuttle down because if you guys don't know this already, we are in Mankato. It's a smaller town, but we're about an hour and a half away from the international airport, which is where a lot of you guys are going to be flying to. So we're about an hour and a half down south. So typically, we don't recommend students to get Ubers or Lyfts because those can be extremely costly because it's a long ride. So we always encourage students to pick a shuttle. The one we highly recommend, and the only one that there is probably, I think, is Land to Air Express. I think it's going to be around in my slides somewhere, or otherwise we'll be talking about it in another webinar, so feel free to join. But we have a Land to Air Express that brings you straight from the airport to Mankato to the university. So that's another option. If you're someone that's traveling really late into MSP or like the Minneapolis airport and you're not able to get a shuttle to Mankato right away, then you'll have to stay in the hotel. So those are like some other expenses that you might not be thinking about that you might want to start thinking about. All right, now these are things that kind of estimated cost of attendance are going to be what's reflected on here, and this is kind of what it looks like on your I-20 as well. Not exactly identical, but very similar, right? So you'll see two different bars on the screen right now, one that says with the International Maverick Scholarship, one's without the International Maverick Scholarship. Disclaimer, if you're a graduate student, this is not going to apply to you, but what you're looking at, you're going to want to focus more on the left side because you guys are just coming in. That's what's going to be your cost of attendance essentially. However, again, tuition and fees are subject to annual increase, so what it looks like right now this year might be a little different than what it's going to look like next year. So just keep that in mind as well. And I think that might be really important to communicate with your parents or whoever your sponsor is as well, is that, hey, these are estimated costs. Next year might look a little different, so please just kind of plan for that as well. Graduate tuition, unfortunately, our graduate students do not qualify for the International Maverick Scholarship. However, I believe the tuition rate is pretty competitive and comparable to the undergraduate one. However, again, I'm saying however a lot, but the tuition for graduate students can vary depending on what graduate program you're in. So what you're seeing on my screen right now might not be what you're going to be paying. So it's very important for you to go on our website and look for your program and what your cost of attendance is going to look like. As you can see on the screen on the left, it does say that tuition may vary by program. So for the complete list of program-specific tuition rates, please view the list of programs. So definitely go ahead and do that just so you have an understanding. However, if you look on the right-hand side, the other estimated expenses for 9 months is very similar to the undergraduate expense, because your health insurance is going to be about $2,700. Your food and housing that you see on the screen right now is if you are wanting to live on campus. If you're living on campus, you're required to get the meal plan. So that's why the cost looks $13,378, because that includes living on campus and meals. We don't require students to live on campus their first year. However, we do find that students who live on campus tend to have a slightly higher GPA than students who live off campus their first year. But I think that's also, has to do a lot with the fact that you're much closer to things and resources. Do you have to live on campus? No, but ultimately it's your choice, right? But again, we will be having a housing webinar at some point. Check the calendar. That will talk a lot more into that as well. How to make payments, and how does billing work? So you're going to be billed every semester. So if you go back, so on the screen you'll see like fall semester, and then the second semester is going to be spring semester. When you come in the fall in August, you're going to be billed for August, so for fall semester. You typically get billed a week after orientation, after you've registered for your classes. So you might not see your bill on your account yet, or until you get here and register for your classes, which is totally fine and normal. You must pay health insurance payment before you're allowed to register for classes, however. So when you are coming here in August, you have to make sure that you have enough funds to make your health insurance payment. It's mandatory and required. We do not waive student health insurance. Whenever we tell students that, it can be a little costly. It's $2,700 estimated. We will confirm this by early July, but again, we'll have that $2,700 health insurance that you must pay during orientation week. So please make sure you have the funds for those. Orientation fee is $200, which will be put onto your account the week after orientation, and which is when you'll see the whole tuition amount as well for fall. How to make payments. Now, there's a few options available for you. You can either use Flywire, that's the direct bank transfer website that we recommend. They do give the best exchange rate along with a flat deposit or like transfer rate, so you're not paying more for sending more, vice versa. So I highly encourage you to check Flywire. If you go on our website mnsu.edu and put in Flywire on the search bar, you'll be able to see a lot more information than what I'm telling you right now. You can also pay it online with your credit card on your eServices account. How do you log into your eServices? With your StarID and password that you created when you applied to our university. Very simple, very easy, but you can make that payment online right now if you wanted to. Yeah, if you wanted to. But I would probably wait until you have your visa, obviously, right? So just be mindful of that. In person, so you can bring cash, credit card, debit card. They also take Apple Pay, honestly, so as long as you have the funds. The final option you have is to enroll in an automatic monthly payment plan. Now, this is for students that might need a little bit more assistance or time in order to get all the funds here. There is an enrollment fee per semester. You do have to enroll on time to be in the payment plan. So just because you have to make sure you look at the deadlines, basically. I don't know what the deadlines are off the top of my head right now, but I know that they have very specific deadlines for the payment plan options. You have to make the payment plans every 5th day of each month. So just because you sign up for a payment plan, you can't say like, oh, I don't want to pay this month, I'm going to pay next month. Doesn't work like that. You have to make sure you're paying on time. I'm sure you guys heard me mention student health insurance earlier. Student health insurance is mandatory. You must have the funds to pay for your student health insurance during orientation, otherwise, you will not be able to register for classes. Insurance for next year is estimated to be around $2,700 for the year. However, this amount is subject to change. Final price will be confirmed by early July. So there's a little bit of time, but you can kind of start thinking about it and talking to your sponsors about this. You can pay for health insurance with a debit card, credit card, cash, Apple Pay, money order even, or online on your e-services. Any questions so far? I know I'm kind of like through it, but if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the chat. All right, scholarships, yay, fun stuff. Now, all new undergraduate international students automatically get the International Maverick Scholarship. You guys all know this watching this. In order to continue to get the International Maverick Scholarship, you must maintain your F1 status and a 2.5 term GPA or a 3.0 cumulative GPA. It's very simple, very easy to keep. It says 7,200, but it's actually 7,600. So it's actually way more than what you see on the screen. I just forgot to update it from last year, obviously. Another question that I know Violet gets a lot for sure is scholarships. Can I get more scholarships? Can I get additional scholarships? Anything you want to say to that, Violet?
So we have a really great scholarship called the Refer a Friend Scholarship. So once you are here on campus and enrolled, if you have other friends back home that you want to refer to us, both you and your friend can get $500 to put toward your tuition, which is really exciting. So keep that in mind. We have all of the rules about that listed on the website. And then we also, as PJ is probably going to talk about here, we have some opportunities that you can apply for once you are here on campus. And then for students from certain countries, we also have the Global Maverick Access Scholarship. So that one can be really nice too. So yeah.
Yes, the Global Maverick Access Scholarship is going to be a great one for you guys to look at, just because the application deadline is tomorrow.
Yeah, let me drop that link in here in case anybody wants to check that out.
Again, you do have to be from a qualifying country to be eligible. So make sure that your country is listed on there before you apply, because if you apply and you're not part of our eligible countries, we're just going to dismiss your request. You do have to apply on the KIC portal. Un moment. There you go. You can do it now. Sorry about that, Violet. All right. Yep. Violet kind of nailed it all. There's going to be a lot more scholarship opportunities once you're on campus. So you just have to make sure you keep your eyes peeled for the month of February, and make sure you have enough references, I want to say. So, all right. Housing. Now, we will go into this a lot more in depth when we're doing the housing comparison or like housing webinar. However, this graph is just a really quick comparison of what it might look like for you living on campus or off campus. Now, a lot of times what people think is living on campus is extremely expensive and living off campus is like going to be very cheap. That really, really depends on what your budget is and what you want to do. We recently met a student that's paying $1,400 for their apartment per month. So again, it's really going to depend on what your budget is, what kind of housing environment you want. Obviously, if you live on campus, you're close to all of your classes, close to all of the events. You don't have to cook. You don't have to do any of that, which is sometimes much more worth it than having to live off campus and buying groceries, cooking, cleaning, paying for utilities. Because when you're living on campus, you're paying one standard chunk of money, versus when you live off campus, you have your rent, which is your housing expenses, but then you also most of the time have to pay for utilities, and that can be electricity, Wi-Fi, gas, water, really depends. And then obviously it's a 12-month lease. You can't just sign a lease somewhere, stay there for 4 months, and then say, I hate it here, I'm moving out. You can't do that in the States. Once you sign a contract, it's legally binding. You can't just leave. There's a lot of nuance that comes with it. So no matter what you do, before you sign anything, make sure you read through it very carefully and very slowly. Don't just sign things to sign things. That's my one big advice. Yep, so again, lease is going to be when you sign a contract with your landlord to use their property for a specific period of time, typically 12 months. Leases do not always include utilities. And again, utilities are basic services like water, sewer, electric, gas, trash, recycling, a lot of it. Most of the apartments I've lived in have typically covered water, sewer, and trash. But a lot of times I've had to pay electricity, gas, and Wi-Fi separately, and those are all billed separately. So it's not like they're all one separate bill either. Most apartments will not include all utilities. Personally, right now, I pay for gas, electricity, and Wi-Fi. Water and trash is included with my lease. Basically what I said earlier, it's a legally binding contract. You cannot just leave the apartment midway through the lease. Make sure you read the lease carefully and completely before signing, because your lease is going to have a lot of other important details, such as, can you own a pet? If you want to own a pet, typically some apartments will make you pay monthly for your pet. I haven't had that personally, but I do know apartments around here that make you pay like $30 a month for your pet. So basically your pet is on lease as well. But otherwise it's like you have to otherwise pay like a pet deposit. Noise violations, do they have downtime? Can you party on the weekends? Like what time do you have to like stop with the loud noises or music or whatever? So just make sure you read your lease very carefully and completely before signing it. You could also be asked to get renter's insurance, and that's also going to be on your lease. I have to get renter's insurance for my apartment. I haven't always had to do it, but for some apartments it's required. So that's an additional cost. All right, student health insurance, like I said before, required to purchase. United Healthcare is the Minnesota State insurance provider. It says $2,600, but it's going to be probably about $2,700. Again, will be confirmed by early July, and you must pay it annually. All right, graduate students, if any of you guys are graduate students, I for sure, and I know Violet for sure also gets a lot of questions about scholarships for graduate students. Unfortunately, we do not have any insurance specifically for graduate students. What we do always recommend is applying for graduate or teaching assistantships. These can be very competitive, or this is very competitive, I should say. These are very competitive. About 1 in 4 graduate student gets an assistantship. So there's like a 25% chance. You can only apply for graduate assistantships after you've been admitted to MSU, and students with a GA will still need to show funding. So just keep that in mind. With assistantships, you can either get a part-time or a full-time. It really depends on what the department is hiring for and what you get offered, right? But if you get a full-time graduate assistantship, that usually covers up to 9 credits of tuition waiver per semester and up to $10,000 of a stipend per academic year. So you're looking at 10 to 20 hours per week of work commitment, depending on if you're hired as a full-time or a part-time. On-campus employment, another big question that we get a lot is about jobs and getting jobs on campus. There are a lot of jobs on campus available for students to apply to, but it really depends on when you apply, what your resume looks like. There's a lot of variables. But if you're an undergraduate student, you can work up to 20 hours per week during the semester. During winter and summer breaks, you can work up to 40 hours per week, so you can work full time during breaks. Graduate students are only eligible to work up to 14 hours per week year round unless working as a GA or a TA, like I mentioned before. You guys will be most likely, most of your jobs are going to be applied to through Handshake, but sometimes students do get jobs from referrals and things like that. So, immunization. You must bring records of immunization if you have these that you see on the screen. So Tdap, tetanus or diphtheria, and MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella. If you have records of immunization for these, please bring them with you, or you can also email your records to Student Health Services at healthservices@mnsu.edu. Make sure you include your tech ID and your full name in the email so they know exactly who to group that record with. If you do not have any immunization records to bring, that's completely fine. You will be asked to take the vaccinations after orientation week. They'll schedule it with you, and the Student Health Services honestly is such a great resource for students. If you're not feeling well, if you need to get tests like blood work or anything done, lab work, they're here on campus most of the time. It's free of cost to you. And even when you have to get medications through the health services, it's at a very discounted rate. So definitely a great resource. If you have any further questions, let me know. All right. With that, fall 2026 orientation is mandatory. Orientation date's going to be August 17th through Friday, August 21st. You must arrive to Mankato on or before August 16th. However, you can only enter the US 30 days before your program start date. So the earliest you can enter is July 17th, 2026. We're very excited to meet you. As you can see, all of our peer mentors on the photo, they're wearing a yellow shirt or a purple shirt. They're going to be here to guide you through the entire week. It's going to be a pretty overwhelming week. Again, very normal. But these students are here to help you navigate that and take you around building to building, and help you get situated. They're also here to answer any questions for you. So when you're here and you're with them, feel free to ask as many questions as possible. Follow us on social media. We do tend to update our social media pretty often. Our students, you can see what our current students are up to, involvements, fun videos, behind the scenes, weekly event updates and things, and so on and so forth. This is also where I go live, sometimes with Violet, sometimes with my graduate assistant, and we kind of just have a chit chat. We call it Coffee with KIC, so you can grab a coffee, come join us. Otherwise, our student workers, our Maverick Global Ambassadors, also do go live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. That's going to look a little different over the summer because it's almost finals week. Spring semester is almost done for us. I think finals week is next week. Yeah. So they will be on break, so that live time might look a little different, but that's also a great time for you guys to come and ask our student questions about what their student life is looking like right now. Upcoming webinars, obviously you guys are in the Understanding Tuition and Fees one today. May 5th, we have our visa prep session. We have a few visa prep sessions planned for you guys, obviously for obvious reasons. We just want to make sure we have enough time slots open for you guys to bring questions. Placement testing webinar is on June 3rd. Definitely recommend joining that if you don't exactly know much about placement testing and what that looks like. We are going to have someone from the placement testing department doing the live and hosting the live, so bring your questions. Upcoming Instagram lives, our next live is going to be May 6th at 10 a.m. Central Time. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you guys haven't received the calendar already, it is in your email, so please check your email. It's there, I promise. It's also been shared to you on WhatsApp, so feel free to go on WhatsApp and look for that as well. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I just kind of boozed through that.
A lot of information, but well done.
Of information.
Any questions, anybody? Otherwise, just know we are always reachable at our international@mnsu.edu email address.
Yes. And you guys also have my WhatsApp. But if you guys have like more complex questions, it's always a good idea to email international@mnsu.edu. Just because I'm not able to respond to WhatsApp as quickly as I'd like. But international@mns.edu is going to be the best place because we have a record of the conversation happening and what's going on. So, and Violet has a wealth of information that she can share with you.
I know a few things.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
you
we know
do.
who to ask about things, and that's what counts. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.
Yes.